So we're back again. Another YouTube video. Hope you lot are ready. Right, today's a fresh week. It is now Tuesday, the 18th of August. I did end up going for a massage yesterday, and I've just scheduled the video, the previous video to go out, which was episode 2. Now this is going to be episode 3. Yeah, went for a massage yesterday. Like I said in the previous video, it was booked in for Monday, and boy, that was the most painful fucking massage of my life. The most painful massage of my life. A full hour on the legs. My lower back, my glutes, my hip flexors, my hamstrings and my quads. Didn't even get to touch my calves because my body was that beat up. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go again probably in another 4 weeks and just get my upper body done. I tend to go every 4 to 6 weeks anyway. But with the amount of volume we're training now, I just find myself needing to go more. Like I physically need to go every 4 weeks. Once I get beyond that 4 week point, I'm a broken man. Genuinely a broken man. But yeah, one thing that I've never had before is I've never gone for a massage and had my hip flexors worked on. Now, if you start running a bit more, your hip flexors will really tighten up. I never realised how painful that'd be. Swear, I nearly tapped out. Stop it now, please. Stop it, please. It's fucking painful now. Swear to God. Tomorrow is going to be a stint on the bike. So, yeah, that is going to... Louis, can you get out of the bin, please, mate? Oh, my... Look at this. Oi! Tosser! Get out the bin. Yep, I know. Anyway, fuck me, this cat overstimulates the fuck... No, when people talk about overstimulating, yeah, this cat... So we're just prepping some chicken now. I don't even know. You know with these videos, you know when you see people making videos like this and just do little vlogs and just talk through the day, the reason why I was so hesitant to ever do anything like this is because it's just fucking boring, isn't it? It's just fucking boring. I'm literally showing you, I'm making chicken. Chicken breast is now in the oven. It's going to be in there for 45 minutes. I'm going to make some rice at the same time, and then that is going to be the meal. Chicken breast, one of those chicken breasts, rice, 100 grams of that, and then I'm going to have some tender stem broccoli alongside of it as well. So nice, simple, quick and easy, because that is what keeps me consistent. Nice and convenient meal. Here's the thing with nutrition. There's a misunderstanding of what it takes to get in shape. People know, right, when it comes to fat loss, I tell people this all the time, when it comes to clients, I tell people the most important thing that you can find is consistency, right? For me, the less choices there are, the easier it always was for me to be consistent. Meaning, when I was bodybuilding, a meal plan always suited me best. That was not to say that I stuck with a meal plan every single day. What it did do, though, is give me structure. So I would have stuck with a similar set of meals. I might have 5 meals in a day. 3 of those meals, I might keep the exact same every single day. 2 of those meals, I might have variants. I might swap the protein source. A leaner protein source for another leaner protein source, right? Equaling out the calories that it would be, right? A fatty protein source meal, I might swap out for another fatty protein source. And then the carbohydrates might change from meal to meal. It might be rice one day, potatoes one day, or white potatoes one day, sweet potatoes the next day, and I might dot between the 3. The best thing that I could do was keep things very simple, very convenient, and less hassle or hassle-free. Because when things are hassle-free for me, I'm more consistent. Now, I also know that there's people out there, because I've worked with people that are like this, that prefer the variety. They love getting creative. They love having the ability to make swaps. So the macro-based approach and the calorie tracking-based approach works really well for them. For me, it never did. I have to have a structure. I have to have something that I'm following, especially when it comes to getting in shape, to be consistent. If you're anything like me, too much thought leads to less decisions wanting to be made. And obviously at that point, if you're anything like me, you tend to fall off, right? That's what I did in the past. Too many decisions led to me not doing the thing that needed to be done. And this is what happens. And it's a repeated cycle for a lot of people, because they want a goal, they want to achieve something, but they also want too much variety, okay? They then have too much variety, but then they find themselves struggling to stick to that variety because it gives them too much thinking. It's a bit of a brain overload. They've got too much going on up there, so then they struggle to stick to that. What works for most people that are like that is finding that sort of drive to just stick to a similar set of meals, but understand when you're making changes, it can be in the way that things are cooked. It can be just by the swap of a carb source in that particular meal. It can be the swap of the introduction of a certain seasoning, sauce, different veggies. That's how you can start to make things interesting. So it's the same sort of meal with a slight twist. That's what people need to learn. It's you can have variety without having too much variety. When you find that, I'm on a bit of a tangent here, but when you find that and you find the ability to stick with that sort of approach, you're generally going to make more progress. Wednesday, the 19th of August, it's the following day, and I'm now on the bike. I've done a full body session earlier on. It was meant to be primarily upper, but my right leg was still giving me a bit of jit, so some of the movements that I did were focused on getting my hamstring and my quad in a stretched position, which is under load, which has helped massively. I'm a little bit hesitant to run tomorrow when I've got to run. I am. Mainly because I don't want to make this right knee worse. So I might leave that till Friday. Just, it's all subject to how it's feeling. But the session so far this week, touch wood, I've been really fucking good. This bike at the minute, I've not stepped above 120 beats per minute in the heart rate monitor, and we're probably going to peak at about 130, so it's nice and steady, because the course that I've chose on the MyWush app is flat in terms of elevation. So yeah, it's nice. It's a nice and steady. Oh, my arse cheeks sitting up like that. Okay, now. Yeah, it's a nice and steady ride today, and it's going to stay like that. But these things, have I even got these on the right way? Have I even got these pants on the right way? Yeah, should be right. Oh, final 9 minutes to go. 60 minutes has flew, or 50 minutes has flew. Mental. Absolutely mental. But I was thinking earlier on, like how things have changed from a mindset perspective when it comes to doing stuff like this, or when it comes to doing difficult shit. And I put it down to just consistently making myself uncomfortable. And I speak to clients about this all the time. Put yourself in certain situations that you don't want to be in repeatedly until that uncomfortable situation becomes comfortable. Like, you can't imagine not doing the thing because you've done it so many times. The feeling of being uncomfortable is normal to you. And that's the difficult thing to get into people's heads, to be honest. Because no one wants to be uncomfortable. No one wants to do the things they don't want to do. So when you're within that mindset, if you've not worked around that and overcome that, the easiest thing to do is not do the thing. Every single day, like, I'd make excuses to not do something despite having big goals. You can have big goals and big aspirations, but if your actions don't align with that, good luck reaching them. And that was me for a long time. And the only thing that got me to overcome that was having someone call me out on my shit. Was to just say, not in a cuntish way. It's finding what works on an individual basis to get them to respond. Because some people need to be told in a dickheadish way. Some people need to be mollycoddled a little bit. That's just how life is. But for me, when someone called me out on the fact that I'm making excuses, why the reason why I'm not making much progress is down to my choices, it made me think. And it, from that point, compounded into more progress. And now that's carried over into my own life, into my own coaching, into what I tell and speak to clients about. Because like I said, once you accept that you are probably the problem and the reason why you can't make any progress, you will start to make progress. Because you start to notice these patterns. You start to notice your thoughts towards doing certain things and these apprehensions and what's stopping you from doing things. And then it just makes life a little bit easier. It makes you a little bit more resilient. 5k tempo done on a lovely wet Thursday morning. So yeah, that was only for 25 minutes O2, which for me, my first ever all out 5K was just over 25 minutes. Now my tempo runs 25:02. Now, don't get me wrong, the first 3K, I was trying to find my feet a little bit, trying to find the pace that I needed. So I'm not even too sure what a tempo pace is for me right now. But then for the final 2K, I started to gauge where I needed to be. Final K probably pushed the pace a little bit too much at 4 minutes 30 per kilometre. That is definitely not a tempo, that's not a tempo pace for me. That's fucking fast. But yeah, 25 minutes, O2, 5K tempo. Cannot complain at that, considering that used to be my all out pace, all out time for a 5K. That shows that I'm getting gradually a little bit fitter week in, week out. Wow, don't I look rough? Quick hour in bed. I had a nice nap because I felt like a piece of shit. The one thing that I'm getting used to is just how tired I feel. I feel quite tired. Just feel fucking sore all the time. And I'm hoping that kind of subsides, because it is part of the parcel. When I've heard people talk about the soreness that you feel, you're always kind of on the verge of being you're never really fully recovered just because of the amount of volume that you do. Which is fine. But fuck me, I'm not normally a napper. I used to be, and then I stopped. And then since I started doing this fucking Ironman shit, training all the time, whether I'm running, cycling, swimming, lifting, and I'm just knackered. And I'm trying to figure out whether I need more sleep, whether I'm benefiting from a quick hour in the afternoon, because I used to nap all the time and that used to give me a little bit of life, and I feel like that's what it's done. I've had a nap, I've had an hour, and I feel fresh. Because I know that I don't feel fresh, because I get to about late morning and I'm just zoning out now. Get to late morning and I'm like, whoa, my brain ain't working. I could just go and sit down and just do nothing. But I gotta work. But I gotta do shit. I've got to show up. I've got to get shit done. Boys, I've finally come to the conclusion that I'm fucked. I've been redlining. Over the past week and a half, I've been in denial. You might be thinking, what do you mean redlining? I'm sore all the time. My body's been displaying signs. I'm sore all the time. Mentally, I've been tired, lethargic, brain foggy. Sometimes people are talking to me and I'm like, what? My brain's not processing information, right? And I should have known when I went for a massage the following day, I was still just as sore. And in the past when I was bodybuilding, right, I'd understand when it was time to pull back. I'd be in a position mentally where I'm like, okay, these are the numbers in my training session. I'm actually getting worse. Or I don't want to be in this gym at the moment. I feel like my training sessions are wank. Don't really fancy being in the gym. Or I just start to feel a bit tired despite getting a decent sleep. Those things for me were indicators that it was time to take a bit of a deload. Now, 2 weeks ago when I did the 17K long run, even though it was easy, it was an easy long run. I think that being my peak that's where I peaked. And that for me was where I think my body was starting to display signs following that, where it's like, you need to just take a bit of a step back. You need a couple of days rest. And I've just continued on. I've just continued and carried on training. And today I drew the line. I went for a swim because I thought, right, I'm meant to go on the bike today, but I'm going to go for a swim instead because it's just a little bit easier on the body, because my legs, my hips, my knees, I just felt a little bit fucked. So I thought, I'm going to go for a swim. Every 100 meters, I just felt like I just wanted to get out of there. Every 100 meters, I did 725 meters, and that for me felt like I'd just done 1500 compared to how I felt even the other day when I went for a swim. And maybe I masked it a little bit better at that point. But it's been a few days since then. And gradually, I've just started to feel worse. And a big sign was, I napped yesterday for an hour. And I napped on this sofa again today for 2 hours. I don't nap. I don't like to nap. I feel unproductive. It makes me feel like I'm falling behind. And that's probably a toxic trait of mine, but for me, it feels like I'm falling behind. And a part of this process of me learning how my body is and how my body recovers and how my body responds to endurance work is also understanding when I need to pull back and how my body kind of feels. And it's similar to what it was like when I was lifting weights. It displays the same signs. And when you are at a point where you're redlining and you need to pull back, by continuing on, you're making yourself worse. My training performance would only have declined. It only would have got worse if I'd have carried on. So, plan of action moving forwards. Saturday, tomorrow, and Sunday, off completely. Monday, to be continued. TBC. I'm going to wait until Monday to decide whether I'm going to train on Monday and then treat Monday as a new week, and I'm going to restructure things. I'm going to restructure things and start the week fresh. Now, to do that, I'm going to get onto TrainingPeaks, which is an app for people that are involved in endurance sports. So that's where they track the running, the swimming, the cycling, and it all goes in one database. So you can see from Monday through till Sunday what you've done, and then using your smart devices, whether that's Apple Watch, Garmin, heart rate monitors, all that data gets inputted into TrainingPeaks. So I'm going to pay monthly for that, but I'm going to coach myself through that. So my training is now going to be put into the app, and that's where I can keep track of my volume properly. It's where I can plan out a structure of a training block properly, which I was doing for a little bit through an app called Intervals ICU, but I just, like people tend to do, you tend to start to feel like you're getting a good routine and you start being a bit lazy with the data, right? I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing every week. It's going to be this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on... I became lazy, basically. Lazy with tracking the data. And that is the exact thing that got me in this place where I've started to feel shit over the past few days and not understood that I'm actually redlining, that I'm at a point where I need to pull back. Because at these points in time, if I didn't realise this today, and I would have carried on training through this, the niggles that I feel in my hips and my knees would have got worse. My training performance would have got worse. My endurance would have got worse. Everything would have started to decline. And this is how I can decipher this from spending so much time bodybuilding. My mindset now is knowing that pulling back and rest is productive at points. It's really productive at points. Whilst most people think taking a step back is actually going to force them to get worse, when it doesn't. You have to know when to push, and you have to know when to overcome that mindset barrier that people have, which is, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to train today, I don't want to do this today. You have to decipher whether it's that or whether it's, oh, you know what? I've experienced this feeling now for a few days. I'm starting to get a little bit tired midday. My sleep, despite getting 7 or 8 hours sleep, is doing fuck all. Once you start experiencing those signs, and you understand those signs, you start to realise, it's not just a motivation issue. It's not just me being a fucking bitch. It's me actually being at the point and on the verge of crashing out. That for me is a lesson learned now, because I thought to myself, because training and lifting weights, every single session was about giving a certain amount of intensity and progressing, right? Whether that's with the reps, whether that's with the load. The goal was high intensity within those sessions. When I couldn't apply myself to those high intensity sessions and everything else was starting to diminish as well, effort within the gym, my drive to actually be in the gym, my sleep, my appetite, when all those things started to worsen, I knew it's time for me to step back to then take steps forward again. Because in endurance and with this triathlon shit, a lot of the stuff that you do is easy. Easy cycle, easy run, easy swim. You might throw in a bit through the week, which is going to be tempo based, or I might do a little bit of lifting through the week where the intensity is going to be a little bit higher because it's more strength based. But the interesting thing is, despite it being a majority easy through the week, your body is still accumulating training load. Despite it being easy, I might still be out there on a run for 60 minutes Despite it being easy, I might be on the bike, pedaling for 60 minutes. Or in a pool for 35 minutes, doing continuous lengths, which for me is still a new stimulus. And your body has to adapt to that training load. And it's not something that I'm actually used to yet. So again, it's interesting for me to learn this because I was under the assumption that maybe I could get away with it with work being easy. But regardless, whether it's easy or not, there is going to be a certain level of demand that your body can take and what it can't. And once you exceed that sort of training demand, or that recovery capability is not there anymore, your body will display signs. And my body was displaying all the signs. All the signs. Yeah. Just because it's easy, and just because the work is easy, doesn't mean that your body doesn't feel it. Because my body definitely did. Let's run you through my new training split to make sure that I don't run myself into the ground again. So over the past couple of hours, I've been running myself through running through a new training split that I was going to follow in a structure, and doing that through TrainingPeaks. Now, TrainingPeaks, not sponsored, not big enough to be sponsored by them yet. Come on, TrainingPeaks, sort of that, got to pay for this. So paying for TrainingPeaks, got a 14-day trial to begin with. I'm going to pay for the athlete plan, which is around like $19 a month. But it's useful for having your sessions structured. Now I can transfer these sessions over to my Apple Watch, and I can also use the app to make sure that I know what the structure is through the week. The previous app that I was using was called Intervals ICU. The issue with that is they didn't have a dedicated app to it, so everything was always within the laptop or the computer. And then my sort of, I'd vary the session if I wanted to. So I might lay it out to be an easy run on the Tuesday. And then that easy run turned into a tempo because I fancied tempo. Now, everything is laid out in the calendar. So the structure is not going to change. And the ATP, which is the annual training plan, has been set up for the next 41 weeks. Reason being 41 weeks is 41 weeks leads me into the Ironman Bolton 70.3. Now, I've not got the tickets yet. I've not paid for the tickets yet, but that is the one that I want to do. I'm hoping that by the time that it comes to paying for the tickets that I'm able to get the tickets, because they sell out quite quickly. They're available now, but for the cost right now, it's not something that I can necessarily afford right now. I'm going to Ibiza next month. So I'm making sure that I've got some spending money for that. Once Ibiza's out the way, that is when I'm going to be getting the tickets for the Ironman Bolton 70.3. Now, the way that I've set up the ATP is the first event that we've got planned out is going to be in 12 weeks. Now, in 12 weeks, that is going to be the Leeds Half Marathon. That is my first event. That is something that I want to do. It's just a bit of I'm collecting stones at the minute. I'm just collecting infinity stones. First one being the Leeds Half Marathon, or just a half marathon in general. I could go out and run one and just plan out a random block for a half marathon and just plan it into my training weeks, but I want to do an event. So the half marathon is going to be first, and that is in 12 weeks' time. And then 41 weeks away is going to be the Ironman Bolton. So the useful thing is with this app, when you look at the homepage, I can then see when things are, how many weeks until an event, which means my training structure can be sort of directed towards what the first event is going to be, which is now the priority is going to be the half marathon. And this is how my structure is going to go. So Monday, upper. Tuesday, for the time being, it's going to be an easy run, but Tuesday is going to be the running day. That, with time, may turn into a quality-based run, which could be a tempo. It's probably just going to be a tempo and threshold-based run rather than turning into any sort of interval session, because the most important run for a half marathon or a marathon is going to be a tempo-based run, which is where you are going to be sustaining heavier, like fast paces. The run that might change is going to be the Saturday run, which I'm going to cover in a second, which is the long run. But before we get to that, Wednesday, lower. Thursday is going to be an easy aerobic swim. Friday is going to be a rest day before the longer run. And Saturday is going to be the longer run. Now, that, to begin with, for the first part of this phase, is going to be easy. Purely easy. Conversational paced. For 75 minutes to begin with. That, as we get deeper into this training block, will change. Now, that might be a long run, which is going to be easy for X amount of time or X amount of kilometers, mixing in with a sort of half marathon specific pace block. It could be, for example, if I'm doing 13 kilometers, I might do 5K easy, 5K half marathon pace, 3K cool down. All of this running shit, by the way, is new to me. So if I sound like a complete knob and it sounds like I ain't really got a clue what I'm doing, it's because I'm learning as I'm going along, right? I'm learning all of these things. Before I started this, I didn't really have much of a clue of what tempo, threshold was, to be honest. Strides, didn't know what that was. So all of this for me is new. This is definitely trial and error. And then, yeah, Sunday is going to be a longer ride. So to begin with, that's going to be an hour longer ride. The specificity in this block is obviously going to be more geared and focused around running, and that is just simply down to the fact that this is going to be a marathon-based or half-marathon-based block, meaning my running needs to be the priority. When we finish this half-marathon block, it's then going to be into a transition, which then the transition will be where we start to prioritize more specifics when it comes to swimming and when it comes to cycling as well, to try to get me used to doing different sessions within those sort of specifics. So within those disciplines, biking will start to do more interval-based stuff, I'm assuming. Swimming will be more, again, interval-based stuff, I'm assuming. Again, all of this is yet for me to kind of research and then apply into my training. But that's essentially how it's going to look over the next 41 weeks. 12 weeks running specific, more geared around the half marathon. Post Leeds half marathon, then we're going to go into the Ironman 70.3 specific block. So yeah, I thought I'd make this segment of the video because this is where we are going to really start to take training, not seriously, but get more specific with things. I ran myself into the ground simply based off of the fact that I didn't have a clear structure. It was just progressive in terms of the actual volume. There was no pullback, deload week, devolume week, whatever you want to call it. There was no specific structure. It was, let's see how much more I can do. Let's push myself a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more running. Let's increase the pace this week. Let me just go from 45 minutes on the bike to an hour. No structure will lead towards burnout. Because without the structure as well, there is never no pullback. There's never no deload or devolume. And that's also an important part of the process. Peaking up to a certain amount of volume, pulling back the volume for a week, and then going again. That's how you actually, from what I'm finding, is improve your overall base and ability to be able to sustain longer efforts. There always needs to be some sort of pullback week where you essentially allow your body to rest. You're not doing fuck all, but you are allowing your body to recover. Still doing something, but then getting your body ready for another push for 4 weeks. Now, this training block and the way that we're going to do it is going to be 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks, and then we pull back. Yeah, so on every fourth week, we're going to pull back the volume. So for the first 3 weeks, it's going to go 5.5 hours, 6 hours, 6.5 hours, then 5 hours. So that's how the training is going to look. That pullback week, or the week where we're going to essentially go for a devolume, it's not going to be a complete fucking just sit on my arse week. It's basically half an hour less than what I'm doing in the first week. But that level of sort of that week in itself is really going to allow me to just freshen up a little bit and get me ready for another push into the sort of peak training volume for the week, which for this block is going to be around 7 hours and 45 minutes. So yeah, looking forward to getting into this. I'm looking forward to actually having a structure again and doing exactly what I would tell my clients to do, which is have a structure. The most important thing is tracking your data. That is what's going to allow you to progress. And what's put me in this position where I feel burnt out is from not having the data tracked. I had a skeleton and a bit of a structure that we're following, but I was veering away from that. If I wanted to do more, I would do more. If I did a bit less, I would then make up for it in another session. That's not how this shit works. You need to make sure that you have a skeleton, you have a structure week to week, and you stick with that structure. If you miss a session, the following day, you do whatever session is programmed into that week and what the normal skeleton and structure says. You don't try and make up for it, you don't adjust that following session, you just accept that you missed a session and move on to the following day. That's it. So yeah, I didn't let my standards slip from a standpoint of effort within training. My food was still good. The effort never really falls. If anything, I've got an issue of doing a bit too much when I do not hold myself accountable to not do so. when I don't have a structure, when I don't have a skeleton and a sort of plan that I follow, and when I don't have a database or some sort of fucking thing to track my training on, I let myself slip a bit. I let myself do a bit too much. I don't have a week where I pull back and go into a devolume week, or a week where I do a little bit less training volume. I just accumulate more and more and more and push myself and my sessions where I want to and where I fancy, despite knowing that's not what you should do. That's not what you should do. But I did it anyway. But yeah, that's now going to be the new training plan, the sort of structure that we're going to be following over the next 12 and 41 weeks, and then the annual training plan for the year, which I will put on the screen at some point throughout this process, or throughout this video anyway. But yeah, that's it. I feel much better today from having a rest. Hopefully tomorrow, Sunday, I feel even better. And then Monday, we are kickstarting with the new upper session, which I will run through in the next video. So yeah, that is going to be it for this video. If you like the video, then please do drop it a like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and that highlight button at the bottom that says subscribe on it is highlighted, then please do subscribe to the channel for future videos and uploads. And yeah, other than that, that'll be it from me, and I'll catch you in the next video.